Hello, everybody. Welcome to PixelPlay Sidequests, your bonus content each week. I say as we didn't have any content last week. Don't worry about that part. We are not in the past anymore. We are in the present, or I guess we are in the past if you're watching this anytime after this uploads. All right. Well, semantics aside,
Nailed it.
our story is pretty straightforward. Embracer Group, we know, have been starting to shed a little bit of a little bit extra weight because they're who knew that spending a crap ton of money on a bunch of companies that they were going to bring was going to suddenly put them in a little bit of financial trouble. So they either have been shutting places down, or in this case, they're looking to potentially sell Gearbox Software, which, for those who know, it is the studio that makes Borderlands, which is the big one.
Not so embracing after all, Embracer.
No. Embrace more like disgrace. Ha.
Oh, but I'm bumped.
But yeah, obviously the big one, like Tiny Tina's Wonderlands was the last really big release they did, but they've done other games like Aliens versus Predators, Colonial Marines, I think it was. Like, they've done odd things here and there, and I think they've even published a few games outside of that too. So, but everybody knows them as Borderlands. So, I mean, this is I already forgot that Embracer had even gotten them in the first place. So, like, I was like, oh, I just assumed they were running on their own. So, well, okay. Well, I guess they're just going to go somewhere else now. And I mean, the conversation, I guess, is, well, does anybody specifically try to buy them? I mean, is this something that Microsoft or Sony look at? Like, Kaylan, what do you think is going to happen here? Because, like, Gearbox, while obviously Borderlands is nowhere, like, it's not in its heyday anymore. Obviously, Borderlands 2 is like its peak. Obviously, we've seen like the pre-sequel. We saw Borderlands 3. There was that Telltale Tales from the Borderlands, and now obviously Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. That was their big stuff. And obviously, since then, like, it's done, like, they've been good games. Like, I really like Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, but like, I wouldn't say that it's been like a colossal money-generating operation for them compared to what it was back with Borderlands and Borderlands 2. So, like, with this company potentially up for sale, do you think there's somewhere specifically that might be a better fit for them, or some place that just might grab, like, is this something that Microsoft or Sony specifically would be really interested in?
I don't think it's something that Microsoft is really going to be interested in. I think Microsoft kind of has the FPS kind of locked down with them having Bethesda. They have access to like id Software and stuff, which does really good first-person shooters. They're the guys who did Doom, Wolfenstein. So, like, I don't think Microsoft necessarily needs a first-person shooter, especially if the Activision Blizzard goes through. That also gives them not World of Warcraft. It does give them World of Warcraft, but I was thinking it also gives them Call of Duty. So Xbox is good for first-person shooters. I don't think that this is something that they necessarily need. Sony, maybe a little bit more. They're kind of trailing behind, but they don't have a huge first-person shooter catalog, and Gearbox might work for them in terms of that, live service kind of game perspective, but I don't know. I feel like, for me, I look at Gearbox and it's not really a studio anymore that has the cachet it once did. I mean, the last big game that they had come out was Tiny Tina's Wonderland, and that kind of came and went without much fanfare. Borderlands, was a great game, but once again, I don't even think Borderlands 3 set the world on fire as much as the other ones did. And then you've got, Battleborn, which kind of came and went. Like, there's not a lot there.
Miserably.
Right? Like, Duke Nukem did not land well either, so, like...
And, like,
I feel like that
published, too. Like, they published Risk of Rain 2, or Risk of Rain and Risk of Rain 2, which I actually like a lot, but, like, indie. Hyperlight Breaker is coming out next year. Remnant 2 is coming out next year. Tribes of Midgard was a couple years ago. That fell real quick. Like, it didn't go very far. Godfall was like their last big one, and that was a failure, the launch title for the new generation, and it very much felt like an Order 1886 where no one gave a shit about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they really haven't had what... I mean, I really like Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, but would I consider it a hit? I don't know, honestly, because I don't know their numbers, but just based on how it was, like, it hasn't really been talked about much since, I don't think it was a hit. So, like, you could argue that they haven't had a hit in over 10 years. So,
yeah, definitely.
It really feels like that. Like, this, I don't want to say it, but, like, this is feeling very similar to Volition, which is just recently got closed down by Embracer. this feels like the kind of studio that I'm like, I don't know what happens with it because I don't know if anybody should really be buying it because I don't know what you're going to get out of it now. It feels like
Well,
this might be one of those situations where unless they get like their own individual financial backing, I have a bad feeling the studio might be just destined to close.
well, this is the thing. I mean, I don't want to speak ill of like the people who work hard at
Of course not.
Gearbox. I don't make games, so I don't know the thing, but like the games aren't resonating with people. That like I don't know necessarily like maybe I don't think you need to buy a studio to get the talent. Like you kind of just pick them
I
off of a
wouldn't say the
sinking
games aren't
ship.
resonating. I think you could do a Tiny Tina's Wonderlands without the massive budget. I think you could definitely tell those kinds of games with by like ratcheting it down in terms of like the scope because I think that brand of humor can definitely work with people, but I don't
Yeah,
think because I don't know how much the budget for that game is, but because it was based in the Borderlands universe that there was a big budget.
but the
Obviously with
other
the
thing
voice
that
acting they got too. Like there's a lot of money being spent with these games. I think they could do what they're doing with those games and spend less.
the issue, the other aspect I was going to go with like the Gearbox is that one, yeah, like there's the talent people, and you obviously want to scoop up big talent, but you don't need to buy a studio for that. The other thing that you would gain from buying Gearbox would be the IP. And no offense, like, does Borderlands still have like the cachet it did once upon a time? I don't think so. And like, is anyone gonna want to see a sequel to Battleborn? No. Duke Nukem? I don't think anyone cares. And I'm saying this like I think it's really cool, but like even Brothers in Arms, like Brothers in Arms has not come out in almost 15 years. That I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
you're
You're not gonna pay
assuming
for
that
it.
if you can like under new management like reboot both like say like make Borderlands and put it back down to its roots again and really improve upon it and maybe you bring up Brother in Arms again and you suddenly have like the alternative to Call of Duty that people have been waiting for. Like
Mhm.
you could obviously take charge of it and reboot it, but that's also a big risk too. And that's why I keep coming back to what I'm thinking now of like I don't know what the studio has to offer for a company to spend because I don't know how much they sold for initially when Embracer got them, but like I certainly wouldn't pay that. Put like I'm assuming it's not a cheap price. I wouldn't probably pay for it again.
Let me see if I can find it. 1.3 billion.
No, then definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah. So like it's just one of those things I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things I think Gearbox is not in its best time right now, and I don't know if necessarily there's a lot of people who will go for it. Sure, if the price is right, someone's not going to pass up an opportunity to like scoop up some IP, but I don't think it's going to be for the purpose of saving Gearbox. And it's sad to say because Gearbox once upon a time made amazing games, but I feel like the best days are behind them.
Yeah, I feel like if it gets bought, it's going to be bought for a much smaller price, and it's going to be like stripped apart and probably started from the ground up again. Like I don't see this be actually. You know what? I don't even know if this gets sold. I think they just buy like somebody just tries to buy the Borderlands IP and tries to do something with it. Like
Yeah,
I just can't see like especially with the price tag originally 2 years ago being 1.3 billion. Sony or Microsoft are not touching this. It's not worth it to them.
Mhm.
They're just there isn't enough of a track record there to be worth it. I have a really bad feeling that we're just going to see the end of this company. It's just going to be
Yeah,
another company in the same way that EA used to shut down companies. Now it's Embracer's turn to just start folding companies.
yeah, exactly.
Because man, it depresses me because Volition was a great developer. Like sure, the last Saints Row wasn't very good. The reboot was just horrible. But like before that, man, Saints Row 2, 3, and 4 were fantastic. Agents of Mayhem, no one cares about. So they had two bad ones in a row, and that's all it took, and they're gone.
Yeah,
And it just seems like Gearbox just they haven't clicked. Like I know it's not like Tiny Tina's Wonderlands or Borderlands 3. Like they weren't badly reviewed, but they definitely haven't had any impact. They have not done what Borderlands 1 was a massive, massive hit. Borderlands 2 just built upon it. It was another big success. And then it just hasn't done much since. It just never lived up to it after that. So
yeah.
it's a real shame. Like I don't want to see more people lose their jobs. I don't want to see another company fold, but at the price tag it is, like unless Embracer's willing to take a massive, massive loss on selling it to somebody else, which businessmen generally don't like doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't like where this is going, to be honest.
Yeah, it's sad, but we'll just have to see where it lies.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, depressing enough, we have to end this clip as it is because, I mean, unless we're just going to sit here and have another eulogy for a studio, potentially. Not much else to say at this point. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think, Embracer should be trying to keep them? Do you think, somebody would try to sell it? And if so, who do you think should benefit from it? Let us know in the comments below. Obviously, like the video as well. Subscribe to the channel for more content, and we will check you out every Wednesdays at noon for the main podcast, and then every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the bonus side quest. Assuming, we don't take a week off because someone's in Florida, someone has a kid on his first day of school, and someone didn't want to die in a 30-degree Celsius room when he was trying to record any sort of podcasting. But alas, that is what it is. We will see you on the next side quest or the next podcast, wherever you check us out. Take care. Bye-bye for now.